The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by BASF.
I'm Amber Bell, and this is Real Agriculture. I am here today for an episode of Pulse School with Josuttes of BASF. So welcome, it's great to see you.
Great to see you as well.
So tell me a little bit about what you do with BASF. Let's start off with that.
Yeah, so I'm a technical marketing specialist for seed treatments and inoculants. I'm based out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, so working directly with our tech service specialists as well as our marketing team in that given portfolio.
Okay, and we're going to be talking about which inoculant is the right one. Down to the basics, what are some of the things that you want growers to know going in choosing their inoculant for this year?
Yeah, when I think about the inoculant space in general, it's really saturated, right? There's tons of different options at a variety of different price points, and depending which retail you go to, it's going to be a total different conversation. So I think when we think about inoculants, there's three big hitters that we need to touch on. Which formulation is right for your farm, right? Is it a peat formulation, a liquid formulation, a solid core granular formulation? And we can get into that a little bit, but which formulation is right for your farm? What rhizobium strain is in that inoculant, as well as what else is included with that rhizobium strain? So is there a biological that's in there that's providing something else besides what the rhizobium is providing in terms of nodulation? So those are the three big hitters that I think about and we think about at BASF when you're going into that retail to have that conversation around inoculants.
And what factors would come into play making those choices?
So when we think about formulation specifically, because that's a big one, price is going to come into play when we think about which formulation, but the big one really is which type of equipment that grower has on their farm. So are you set up with multiple tanks to have a solid core granular formulation, or do you need to think about having a liquid or seed applied peat formulation that's going to work a little bit differently, but allow you to get that seed in the ground inoculated?
Okay, and when you talk about the biologicals or the rhizobium that's in the formulation, what are some of the factors that might impact that? Like, would growing conditions the previous year?
Yeah, no, so when we think about the rhizobium piece of that, really what it's about is it specific to the crop you're growing? So we hear a lot of different noise in this space around crop generalist versus crop specific. So crop specific, when we think about pulses, is going to work directly on pea and lentils. So I always think about it in sort of like you go into the doctors and they're like, you're low on vitamin D. Are you going to go to Costco and, get a multivitamin for $30 that has a bunch of different vitamins or nutrients in it that you don't really need? Or are you going to go and get that vitamin D specific from Costco that's going to directly target what you're lacking? And so that's the kind of the difference between crop specific versus crop generalist.
Right, and would you guys typically do a soil sample or something then, or go off of a soil sample for it?
Yeah, growers can utilize soil samples. I think across the board in Western Canada, when we think about pulses and setting up for success in that early season timeframe, most guys are going to inoculate, and it's going to depend then if there's a biological, a price conversation, and again, that formulation piece as to how much they're wanting to spend on that inoculant.
So there have been a lot of talk about biologicals recently.
Yeah.
What can be included into an inoculant, and how much of a difference does that make?
Yeah, so when we think about inoculants and biologicals, they can go hand in hand, and they do different things. So inoculants specifically work with that rhizobium relationship and creating that inoculation. With a biological, depending on what that biological is, it can bring a couple different things. So there are situations where there can be suppression of early season diseases, but there's also situations where it's providing kind of like a glove around that root system. So protection against those early season stresses, especially, I'm based in Saskatchewan, it can be really cold in that early season. So protecting that little seedling during that critical time frame, as well as more effectively using the nutrients. So whether it be water or those micronutrients, biologicals can assist in that as well.
Great. How many, so automatically when you're choosing an inoculant, are there going to be biologicals included?
No, that is something that needs to be a conversation for sure, and think about as a grower what you're looking for. Not all inoculants are going to provide that biological, and with that being provided, I think there also needs to be a conversation on what is supporting those claims. So with both inoculants and biologicals, it's a little bit different than a herbicide or a fungicide where PMRA is regulating the efficacy data that is provided to get those claims on label. With inoculants or biologicals, it's the CFIA. So efficacy data isn't actually required in those situations. And so those claims can kind of range in terms of how true or false they really are. So having an opportunity to see it in the field, talk to reps, and get some supporting data is something that we really do advise as well.
That's great. And what would you recommend to growers that are looking to choose their inoculant? Like right now, they're going out. What would be their first steps?
I would first look at your equipment. So which formulation is going to work for you? Which rhizobium you're wanting. So directly targeting, are you looking at a logistic benefit, or are you looking at getting the most out of your inoculant and having a crop specific rhizobium strain? And then if you're looking to have that biological added and really what that biological is going to be doing for you.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for joining us, and it was great to see you.
Yeah, you as well, Amber. Thank you.